Welcome. A pretty impromptu live stream this evening, my time. I wanted to come on and do a little bit of a teaching on love, real love. What is it? And you may be joining from all over the world. We get people from here in Australia up through North America, down through the Pacific Islands, all the way down to Brazil, up through South America, and of course all through the United Kingdom and Europe. And I love that we can come together in a live environment because there's a synergy to life, something that it's hard to capture in a recording. Even from me presenting it, you get into a certain flow, a certain synergy and connection when it is live. So I love to do these live. I've got lots of notes I want to refer to. Often what I do is I put off the camera so I'm not looking down at the camera. I'm not going to do that today because I presume that many of you aren't staring at the screen, you're listening, and that's what I want you to do. I want you to be listening rather than so much watching. So before I get into it, I want to welcome those that are joining here on the live. Why don't you, at this point in the chat, I'm looking over at my screen, why don't you let me know that you're watching, that you're interested in hearing about love. I think this is what we all yearn to have in our lives, isn't it? And it's not just having love, it's what I would say is to walk in love, to abide in love. And there are many misconceptions on the different types of love. Of course, in a single conversation, we can say we love ice cream, we can love our partner, we can love a TV show. And of course, we know when we are speaking of those things that those types of love are different. And in today's teachings, I want to get into the different types of love and what they are. So at this point, many people will probably not be on the live stream. They may be watching the replay. Nonetheless, if you are watching the replay and you would like to chime in with a question or you want to let me know where you were joining from, I'd love to hear from you as well. But I will get into the teaching of this. Let me begin with this. And I love this. Love suffers long and is kind. Say that after me, kind. Doesn't the world need more kindness? Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself or is puffed up. It does not behave rudely. Who knows? They live in a pretty rude world these days. People aren't maybe intending to do it. And let me ask you this question. Who are you when nobody is watching? When you're driving into a car park or you're driving down the road or you're interacting with people and nobody is watching, what type of person are you? Are you kind? Do you behave rudely or do you come with kindness? Love does not seek its own. It is not provoked. It thinks no evil. It does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in truth. Bears all things, believes in all things, always believes, never gives up, hopes all things, endures all things, and say this after me: love never fails. So love is patient. It waits without punishment. So often in relationships, we want to repay what has been done to us. Someone's unkind, we automatically go in a defensive mode and want to pay the other person back. Of course, that is not love, and trying to get even, you're going to walk unevenly. Love does not envy, it celebrates others. What do you like when somebody gets something that you want? Now I know I'm speaking to people. The thing that you've dreamed about, the thing that you had your heart set on that you really wanted. Maybe it's a job. Maybe it's a new home. And you're scrolling online, or you might be on Facebook, you could be on Instagram or social media, or you might hear about it and you see that other person. Maybe you don't even like them that much, and they get the thing that you want. What is your reaction? Do you envy the other? Or do you celebrate the thing that you wanted? You see, love is kind. It doesn't just tolerate, it blesses. You know, when I walk sometimes and I see a need. It happened to me the other day. I watched a really old lady, and she was walking in a frame, and she was walking down some stairs on the road that I live in. And I think she had just been to Mass, because it's right up on the hill with a Catholic church. And then I was walking my dog, and I could easily have passed her by. And the first reaction she said is, "I'm okay." And nonetheless, I went to help her anyway, because it was going to make it easier for her. You know what? The person who really gets blessed, I think, from a small interaction like that is the giver. Say the giver. We often fall into anxiety and depression and heaviness and a life of being burdened because we're so obsessed with our own happiness. We're so obsessed by trying to be happy that we are becoming self-absorbed. Come on, I know I'm speaking to people because I'm speaking to my own experience, and I know I'm not different from anybody else. We all occupy the same world, and I've traveled to many different parts of the world, and I know that we're all pretty much the same with the human condition. So love is humble. And let me say as well, even when you do something, do you do it from a place of genuine care, the motivation, or is there some motivation in it? We would all say, I think we would all agree, the world needs more love. But how do we create a world with more love? How do we occupy a world with more love? How do we get others to love us more, which is what we all want? I think we want to be more loved. We do it by being what we want. You see, how do you get that new home? How do you get the things that you want and desire in life? You bless and you have joy for those that get what you want. When you bless, what you're saying is, I am making a way for me also to receive that into my life. I am not holding any resistance to when I see another blessed. So when you don't resist, you draw to you, you expand And through your expansion, watch what happens. Blessings begin to chase you rather than you trying to chase down every blessing. Something I shared recently in a podcast, you will find all of my podcasts here on YouTube. I generally release them weekly. It's certainly my motivation. I don't always meet that criteria of getting them out every week, because I don't just spurt them out for the sake of it. I really ruminate on the information. I really want to make sure that it is capturing really what my walk and experience is. And what I'm doing is I'm composing and collaborating original music. Why am I doing that? Because music opens the heart up. And the song always segues into the teaching that I offer. This is impromptu today. I didn't come up with a original song, unfortunately. And maybe that's something I will do for the live streams, particularly, for a subject like this, which is love. Now, I said earlier I was going to describe some of the ancient meanings of love, and let me quickly go through those. Agape, coming from the Greek word. Now, this is divine love, selfless, unconditional, sacrificial love. This is the love that gives without expecting. I do it, no expectation. I do it because it's unconditional. It does not have any selfishness in it. It does not have any expectations in it. Then we have other types of love. Eros love. We often think of this in a newer relationship. This is the more romantic, passionate love, the physical, sensual, emotional attraction. Now, I've worked with many people over the years when it comes to Eros love, and almost 99.9% of the time, unless it's cultivated, the chemistry in the brain over a period of about 3 to 5 years begins to naturally dissipate, and the experience of Eros love, the fire, the passion, the love, the sexual connection, all of those things that come with Eros love begins to fade because of the chemical reaction within the brain that begins to settle down naturally. So many people, when it comes to relationships, they're out the door when Eros goes out the door. And many people lack to cultivate, and I'm kind of talking to men here because this seems to be more prominent with men, that they chase Eros love. Now, it doesn't mean it's bad, but it means love is much broader and wider than the physical. We all know that. Right. Now, love is layered. You can have Eros without agape. And if you have Eros without agape, that unconditional love, it's going to fail. If agape is the root, every other love will flourish when it's planted in agape. Now, of course, this is coming from ancient Greek words. These are where the words are coming from. And specifically, if we look at the Roman Empire, a lot of these come from even the pre-Christian terminology adopted within Christianity, understood within Christianity, but they were a part of the Pantheon understanding of the divine. So we look at the goddess Diana, for example. Who has studied, and you can let me know in the chat, who has studied some of the more ancient words, and is very good to explore some of these concepts in study and being diligent to study and understand. But of course, we don't need to be learned when it comes to the simple things. If we were more loving in our lives, if we really cultivated kindness, compassion, long suffering. See, love is patient and kind. Say that after me, patient. We live in a world that's impatient. Our brains are ever evolving now, and many of you will have young children or teenage children. You will witness the lack of attention because of the scrolling. I call it doom scrolling. And we want instant gratification. And we don't really cultivate, and we don't really nurture. But we still want everything back. We all expect everything back. And you know what? I watch this over and over again. And listen to me. Stay here with me, because this is an important point. We all want the same thing. And it doesn't matter who we are or what we find ourselves in is in society. You might have a lot or you might have a little. As human beings, we want the same thing. We want peace, we want kindness, we want love. And very few of us are that to other people. And yet we want it. It's kind of like, you want a great garden. And who's close by or has a beautiful garden? I live in Melbourne, Australia, and where I live, around walking distance for many of these parks, they've got beautiful gardens, beautiful, majestic. Some of these gardens have trees 300-400 years old. Majestic, but they have been cultivated. Many of them have full-time gardeners. Now, you don't have an incredible garden that has not been cultivated. And you see, we want everything, but we don't cultivate. We don't water. We don't nourish. We're not patient anymore. So we live in a fast-paced society, yearning for all the same things, and yet lacking to be that ourselves. You know what? If you're struggling with depression, you're struggling with anxiety, the best thing that you can do is get your focus on other people. What little small acts of kindness can you do? It might be just helping somebody. It might be as simple as, and I've been doing this lately as I am walking my dog Louie, is I challenge myself when I'm on a walk. How many people can I smile at today? It doesn't cost me anything. I'm passing them anyway, and most people in a urban city area, they just ignore anyway. Now, what's the worst thing that can happen? Someone's going to ignore me. I was walking, I like sharing stories. I was walking Louis the other day, and this was kind of something that I'm even thinking about weeks or days later, so it's significant even for me. And I was playing with Louis and throwing his ball in the park, and I had my headphones in, and I often do that and listen to music as I'm sort of grounding myself and enjoying my time with Louis, my dog. And a older couple walked by, and I watched them smile at him. And then I gave them a big smile back, and then they smiled back, and it just felt like this contagious moment of joy. I think that really made their day. A lot of older people say to me, those particularly over 60 and 70, they say to me, Paul, when you're just older, you just feel invisible. Now, on that day, I made them feel visible. A big, nice smile broke maybe a pattern that's been there for weeks, months, years, where they just felt like no one ever sees me anymore. And in that moment, they're seen. See, never underestimate your ability to be a blessing in another person's life. Never underestimate the small things, because the small things build up. You know, if you have one of those days and you have lots of small things happen right for you, who knows, that ends up being a great day for you. So you can, like my garden analogy, and like using analogies, you can be sowing small seeds consistently in people's lives that are making a difference. And you know what's going to happen? Because this is how the world works. When you sow into others, eventually people start to sow into you. What you sow, you reap. Seed time, harvest. It's a natural law. Say it's a natural law. And natural laws always work. Now, you might not see it instantly. You won't see it instantly because there is seed time and harvest time. Of course, the seed goes into the ground, it germinates, it ruminates, it's watered, it's nourished, and then under the right conditions, it springs forth. But if you aren't consistently sowing seeds, when harvest time comes, you don't have any harvest. Many people in this community that we find ourselves in are always searching for the next thing. They're looking for the next course. They're looking for the next spiritual path or tradition, or they want to study into the mystical. And I got a podcast coming out next titled, I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. Because they're ever searching for something that really is under their noses. You see, a lot of people fail to recognize that we actually have the power to change. We have been endowed with everything that we need to transform all of our lives. And you don't need to pay for a course that's going to tell you that. You need to live it. And I don't know about you, but I think some people need to hear some of the basics today. And the basics are: do it. Be it. Be the thing that you want. Maybe some of you can let me know over in the comments section. And don't be shy here. We've got over 20 people on here. But what are some of the things that we want in our lives? Why don't we list them? And I'm going to start this chat here. So I'm going to be the first one to type away. I would like more kindness from others, right? I'm the first one to write that comment. So what can Paul do to experience more kindness from others? I could set a goal to do 5 kind things for other people in a single day. 5 acts. Maybe it could be 3 smiles at a stranger, 3 different people when I'm on a walk. Maybe it's to help that person. Maybe it's to call or text that person that just needs some encouragement. Now, what do you think? If I consistently did that every single day of my life, what sort of life would I have? Do you think I would be typing in the box that I wanted more kindness in my life? No, because you know what? I would be so immersed in kindness. Kindness would, maybe not every interaction, but kindness would be being returned to me from others, because the simple act of giving to another, they want to bless you back. You might be watching this and this is blessing you. You might want to say, I want to bless Paul back. I want to sow something into Paul because he gave me something. Now, you don't have to do that. Welcome to you, Tammy. Great to see you here. Maybe Tammy, write what it is that you want more of in your life. It might be more joy. In fact, I sense that you want more joy, you want more peace, you want more freedom. And Tammy, for you, you want to be seen more. You want to see the world that they value you. So Tammy, in your case, how can you be that to somebody else? See, a lot of people will listen to a message like this and say, oh, it's too simplistic. I want to be talking about advanced metaphysics, and I want to be talking about some of the, the controversial stuff and so on and so forth. Joy, peace, freedom, of course. Of course. And it's not that I read your mind. I know the human condition. And I know, Tammy, that's the things that we all want. And you know what we do? We get so sidetracked. We're not consistent. We get over into the advanced metaphysical stuff. What we're really searching for is what Tammy has talked about: joy, peace, freedom, contentment. And we're looking for all of the wrong stuff in all of the wrong places. I've been challenged over the last 4 or 5 months. That's why I've been doing a lot less of these lives, to really get back to simplicity. As a society, as a person that has been heavily involved in helping people, and I've helped thousands of people through this channel. This channel has grown to over 181,000 subscribers. I've got a big community over on YouTube, on Instagram and Facebook. And really those numbers are irrelevant. What is relevant is that the content that gets put out is actually helping people, right? And I'll be honest, I'll share a story. I used to put stuff out about aliens and UFOs and all of that stuff. And really early on in the year, I kind of had this cathartic experience where I thought, is that really life transformative for an individual? Is that interesting for the analytical mind? Or is that really life transformative? Is that making the world a better place? And I'll be really honest with you. I thought, no. That is stimulating the analytical mind, fascination, but we end up with all of the same problems. So I really wanted to bring it back to the simple. You know, my heart has always been, from the beginning of this journey to this moment I'm sitting here now, is I wanted to help people. I wanted to see people's lives transformed. I wanted to see people like Tammy. I wanted to see them live in peace and freedom and joy. So I really had to pivot my message and bring it back to something more simple. Because the world has gone down a trajectory that I think we would all agree we're not happy with. I don't care if you live in Europe or North America or down here in Australia. I see the same pattern emerge over again. Self-worship, self-idolization, me. Us versus them mentality, divisions. We have youth issues across all Western countries now of crime. These patterns are replicating themselves in Europe, North America, Australia. Why is that? Why are youth ever turning to things like crime? Has anyone got the answers? And let's be a little bit more engaging. Tammy, you're great because you're engaging. Oh, I'm glad you're here, Tammy, and I'm here to help you. So you can write whatever you need in the box there, and I'm happy to converse with you or anybody else that's willing to converse with me. But why are we seeing this? Why is the world heading in a trajectory that I don't think any of us are happy about? And I would say it's happening because we've neglected all of the things that used to make society function harmoniously. We've become too self-absorbed. We're too busy chasing all the things that we think might make us happy. And really what we're chasing is we're chasing the things that I'm talking about today. We want more kindness. We want to be loved. Many of you might be single. You've wanted a relationship. You might have issues within your family. You could have issues with your children when they're not talking to you. And you don't have the ability to solve it. And I won't argue with that. You know, I have challenges in my own life that I know in this moment right now, I do not have the ability to solve it in my own strength and power. But what I do have the ability to do is I can get on here impromptu and be really honest with people. And people might be scrolling and just happen to come across this live stream. And it might be just Tammy tonight. But Tammy got a word and she knew that she was seen and recognized in this moment. And so rather than sitting and worrying about or ruminating, procrastinating, let me get that word out, I can be a blessing to another person. I can say, I see you. I can say to an individual that you have value. Now, of course, it won't go viral and it won't be potentially interesting to a lot of people, but all of the people that seem to be all involved and obsessed with all of the things, like I spoke earlier, metaphysical stuff, many of them are, because I've had the conversations offline, they may not be commenting here in the comment section, but I've spoken to them offline. I've worked with people in this space for over 5 years. I know the human condition pretty well. Not perfectly, but pretty well. And I know what people are after. So I would say, let's bring it back to what is important. Now, let me read some more of these comments. There are two types of people, consumers and creators. Be the latter, or eat bugs, or own nothing. I think that's a good point in the beginning there. Most are consumers. You're absolutely right. We just want to take and consume, and we'll follow this particular person online for a few months, and then we'll get bored of that person and not follow through on any of the advice that perhaps they gave us, and then we'll move on to the next person, hoping that we'll find salvation out there somewhere in something. And we really neglect to embody what we want. If you just embodied what you want, your life would seemingly miraculously change. Because believe it or not, you have much more influence in this world than you give yourself credit for. We know in the negative sense, one person through a really negative act can destroy thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives through a really negative act. And yet we feel powerless when we want to be good in this world because we think that our goodness does not count. I want to remind you, if you treat people with love and respect, and you're constantly sowing seeds, you will eventually not only reap a personal harvest, you'll make a difference in your community. Some of you may have online communities like I do here, where I have an opportunity. We've had 244 people at this stage that have seen this live. Maybe 3 of them got reminded today of something really simple, and that's just to be kind. Offer a smile to a stranger. Be love. Stop chasing this eros type of love, if that's what you're searching for, and embody the agape, the divine love. Because we're all aspects of that. You know, we all have different beliefs. Some of you come from more spiritual, metaphysical backgrounds. Some of you come from more traditional faith backgrounds. It doesn't matter. This space is open to everybody. It's not really a place of debate or a place of arguing religion or theology, because I think the greatest spiritual act is love, right? Can you imagine if everybody laid down all their ideologies, all of their dogmas, and just loved each other? What sort of world we would live in? And you look at the core of many wisdom traditions. If you look at Christianity, you see that Jesus, the core message was, he said, they will know you are my disciples for your love. He didn't say they'll know you're my disciples through your theology or your opinion or your judgment, which is what often, unfortunately, many people do. I'm getting better about being kind, and this is from Tammy. I'm getting better about being kind to people, except I'm having a really hard time being kind to my husband. Oh, this is a good one. Well, the people closest to you are going to be your toughest assignments, but arguably your most important assignments. Now, there is a difference between, I'm being careful with my words here. You don't have to condone bad behavior. In fact, if someone is being abusive or consistently unkind, you're going to have to use your voice and your ability to stand your ground. But it's often people are like bugs. Someone said the word bugs before. That's appropriate to use that. They said eat, or you can eat bugs. People can bug us, can't they? They can annoy us. Let me get back to what I said earlier, because this ties in perfectly. Love is patient. It waits without punishment. What if for you, Tammy, you just said, I'm going to cultivate patience. I'm going to be more patient. Okay, there's controlling. Here's a question. Could there be a situation where you have been that also? Because often we exhibit the same behaviors, right? And I think, if someone is, and I'm not talking about abusive relationships, I think that is really a different area altogether. And if someone is experiencing something like that, or you are going through something traumatic in your life, I offer one-on-one sessions. Now, here on YouTube, you can find my links, or you can email me, or you can write it in the comments. If you want some talk therapy, I'm offering that to people. I've got ongoing clients that see me. Some people see me fortnightly. Some people see me weekly. Some people see me once a month or once off, and that's it. But I think that talk therapy is something that we all should do at one point of our lives. That is one-on-one, sitting down virtually or in person with somebody and letting out and being heard and hearing, more importantly, hearing yourself process your thoughts and emotions. Because you'd be really surprised. Much of what we suppress, and this is where it gets really toxic, when we bottle everything up inside, we get ill eventually because it turns toxic in our body. The mind-body connection, there's a lot of science into this. It used to be not seen as scientific, but more so we're making the mind-body connection. Emotions need a place to go. Now, the best way that you can deal with your emotions is to have a safe space to talk about them. Now, often it's not going to be with our closest family or friends or partner, because guess what? We have a history with them, and often that is the thing that we get judgment back. So you need a safe space. So someone has said they're dealing with a narcissist. Well, Mandy, in your case, I recommend talk therapy. If you feel comfortable with me to go through that process, I'm absolutely here for you. If not, there are some wonderful other practitioners that I can recommend to you for talk therapy. I'd love to help you, Mandy. I've helped many women and men through dealing with narcissistic relationships. It's actually one of the most common things I've dealt with over the years, and really seen some wonderful turnarounds in people's lives. Before we close today, and I think we're right at that time, I don't like to go, look, I'm way over already. I don't normally like to go more than 30 minutes, and we're at about 43 minutes and 44 seconds. So thank you. You've said I have a soothing voice, by the way. Thank you, Mandy. I appreciate this. Well, Mandy, if you want to work with me, I'm going to type my email, and this is for anybody that's looking for talk therapy, because this is really the focus of what I'm doing. I'm really working with people one-on-one, and obviously I'm doing these live streams for people. I'm writing my email here for you now, Mandy, right in the chat box, and this is for anybody. This is my direct email. You can contact me for talk therapy. It's the number one thing I recommend. Every other therapist that I know, and I know psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, influencers, everybody in the field, they all recommend a safe space to be able to be seen and heard and process. And the real magic of it is not so much the practitioner. What's important is that you feel comfortable and safe with the practitioner, but it's actually your opportunity for your own empowerment, because you're getting clear. You're getting it out of your thought streams, that excessive thinking, and you're articulating it, you're verbalizing it, and you'll also have a space and feedback from another individual. And no, ChatGPT is not a good option as a therapist, by the way, because I know many people will think that they can just use AI now to do the same. I think the human connection and having a person help you is more important than technology. But I hope you reach out to me, Mandy. I've got some spaces opening up over the next couple of weeks, so I'd love to be assisting you. And you might be watching the replay of this, or anybody else. I'm here to support people personally, ongoingly through their journeys. One of the best things that we can do, beyond courses, beyond getting into all sorts of different spiritual paths, it's really being able to process the stuff that we are going through, and really at a soul level, at a mental level, detoxing and being heard and seen. I'll see you next time I do one of these lives. Thank you to Mandy, thank you to Tammy, and everybody else that has joined today.